Well, good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, May 4th, and the committee's all present, and we're going to be working, hopefully, and getting out House Bill H 420, which is the miscellaneous agricultural bill that the House sent us. So with that, we'll call the meeting to order. And Michael, did you have that addition, the new language? Was that what we were going to report on this morning? Section 1B?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's the only change that I have from the previous language you discussed.
Yeah. And you've all received copies of that, I believe, the committee members. And so you want to just run through that, Michael?
Sure. I will share screen. Or do you want?
Unless
or if everybody, all right, so I'll just start at the beginning of the committee's proposal of amendment. You would add underneath remember that 420, as it came over, repealed the sunset on the personal slaughter law, the on-farm slaughter law. So you would be adding two new sections underneath that subject area in H420 under personal slaughter. The first is increasing the amounts of animals that a person can slaughter on the farm or allow for slaughter on the farm each year. And it is doubling those numbers, going from 15 to 30 swine, 5 to 10 cattle, 40 to 80 sheep or goats, and then 6,000 to 12,000 pounds of live weight of the combination of swine, cattle, sheep, or goats.
Yep.
Then you had the
happy with that, right? Yeah.
Then there was the discussion of formalizing how to do animal shares in the state without having to have the slaughter of that animal inspected and licensed, and whether or not a person who bought that ownership share could receive meat and meat products from the slaughtered animal because they were the owner. And that would potentially qualify under the Federal Meat Inspection Act personal slaughter exception. But FSIS, in consultation with the State Agency of Agriculture, raised concerns about that and made some statements that were a little confusing. Most notably that the owner of livestock, in order to qualify for the personal use exemption, that every owner needs to somehow participate in the slaughter of that animal, which I think would be very difficult to do. So instead of potentially jeopardizing the state's equal to status under the FSIS and the money that it receives, you've directed the Office of Legislative Counsel, in consultation with the Agency of Agriculture and other interested parties, to review federal and state law regarding whether the state may exempt the slaughter of livestock and provision of meat under an animal share contract and license and inspection requirements in 6 VSA Chapter 204. And then on or before December 1st, Legislative Council shall submit its findings to the General Assembly, and the findings shall include proposed draft legislation.
Yeah, that I thought that looked pretty good. With the concerns and lateness of the hour to get something out. What committee got some thoughts in regards to the new language that Michael's put together for us?
I think it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Corey?
For me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's just getting that language figured out, and I would expect, Michael, you'll be the legislative council person. So
That's my expectation too.
yeah, that's good. So would somebody, are there why don't we take a vote on this particular language? I think we already approved the number of animals, so if somebody'd like to make a motion to accept section 1B, Brian would move.
Yeah, I'd like to move that the committee vote out H 420 as amended by draft 1.1.
I don't know. I wanted to talk about another issue if we could, maybe before we vote the bill out.
Okay, I'll withdraw my motion then.
And we can wait until I get, it seems to me that sometime back, we had a request of some kind to do something with Act 250. Did you recall anything on that, Michael? I mean, I'm just thinking this. I have nothing on paper in front of me, but seems like there was something that we needed to talk about. Oh, and the other, well, I don't know if it's 250. It's in regards to that tenant housing fees and that. And somebody told me that took in farm housing. The bill that came out of a farmer, I guess it was, called me and said that the bill that we voted out dealing with rental properties would take in farm labor housing. Well, farm labor housing already has a process for inspections. And I'm wondering if we ought to either put that in this bill that they would be exempt because they're already being inspected or could be inspected through this farm labor inspection, housing inspection program, or if it would be better to run those through and like it is and do some more research on that and possibly have if we have a committee, a conference, we could do it then. If we felt necessary, correct?
Thank you,
You're
Mr. Chair.
muted, you're muted, Chris.
You're cutting in and out.
Oh, yeah, did you get the drift of what I was saying?
I think so. My question is for Michael. I don't have 420 in front of me this second, but I think there's a fee in there, and I guess I'm wondering if I'm accurate about that, and therefore it has to go to finance, which maybe buys us time to look into what you're talking about, or at least another stop. So that would factor into my calculation because timing right at this point is going to be important for us to totally understand.
Let me just double check. There's the livestock dealer fee, which is not changing, but you're changing the definition of a livestock dealer, and sometimes the secretary determines that changes the revenue and needs to go. There is, so that's really the big one.
That's what I'm remembering, and that's could go either way. I agree with you, depending on Bloomer's mood.
Right.
So that's the only fee.
That's
Well,
really it.
Yeah, so, I mean, we would have a little more time sometime between now and when the bill gets to the House. They could do a amendment and send it back to us with her, but we ought to make a note and if that other bill is rolling through, we ought to put some type of a clause in this bill that would exempt those guys, because those farm labor housing is usually figured in as part of their pay on most farms. And like I said, there is provisions in the farm housing sector for an inspection. They got a whole process. Do you remember what that was, Michael? That we set up a few years back for farm labor housing inspection?
Yeah, you are, I'm kind of losing you here and there, but there is a section, I think it's in Title IX, about farm labor housing. And it's really more about the termination of a farm employee housing. I haven't worked on that before. That's been David Hall. I'd have to look into that a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, so we'll wait on that, Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the bill you're referencing is S-79, which, if I'm remembering correctly, it passed the Senate.
Came out of Michael's.
It came out of economic development. It requires a $35 rental registration fee, I think. But I think it's in House General right now, and I don't know whether that means it's not going to move but it has not passed the House yet.
Oh, okay. So maybe we haven't even got to think about it. So
Well, I'm not saying that either.
why don't we move our,
You were freezing up, Bobby.
oh, yeah. Why don't we move the bill then, Brian? Can you make your motion and we'll move the bill?
Sure. I'd like to move that the committee vote out H 420 as amended by draft number 1.1.
Second? And you want to call the roll, Corey?
Yep. Senator Collmore,
Yes.
Senator Parent, yes. Senator Pearson,
Yes.
Senator Polina,
Yes.
Senator Starr,
Yes.
almost marked you as a no, Bobby. Absent.
Well, I am due to technical difficulties beyond my control.
I can tell you, any bill I've
so,
reported this year, my biggest nerves have been that my internet's going to go out in the middle of it.
And Chris, you're the reporter of that?
Okay.
Do we need a second motion, Bobby? I'm never clear on this.
You
just
sort of
amended it. I
merged
think-
them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You approved the bill as amended to vote it out, so I think we're covered.
All right.
Any other, anything else that we need to bring up this morning?
Does this mean it's our last meeting?
Well, we could meet if somebody has something they would like to bring up.
Well, we'll need to react to S-102 came back to us, or right, and things like that, I would guess.
Yeah. So I think, I don't know if you hear me, but
We
We'll-
heard you thinking
we'll
about
have
something.
Linda send notices out.
Michael, where could you give us a little update, Michael, since we have a moment on S102. What else did we send over? A few of the bills that the House has reacted to, or if they are, or where they're at.
So 102 passed third reading, and is done. They only made some minor changes. Well, I wouldn't say minor. That they changed the fee for. They changed a couple of the terms. So they changed animal health product to dosage form animal health product. They changed biostimulant to plant biostimulant. They changed the fee for animal form dosage health products from 105 to 35. They tweaked the Senate Natural Resources rulemaking provision about not allowing compost production in designated downtowns, because as it read, it would have prohibited any compost production on any farm, not just compost production from the importation of food residuals. And so that was tweaked. And that there was a couple other things that I'm not totally recalling right now, but those were the main changes.
All right, sounds good.
We'll
I'll
have
do it.
34 on third reading today. That's that innovation board. And we did change it quite a bit because it was a strike all. I don't know whether that will occasion them sending back a proposal of amendment or not. But
I think they're okay with 434. They haven't asked for much review of that yet. They've asked to review 420 already, but I think they will be amenable to your changes. Am I 218 is done, raw milk.
Yep.
Right
Did
there.
did they change the raw milk, Michael?
No, they just moved to concur with your proposal of amendment.
Good.
Well, let that be a trend.
Yeah, you know that 102 bill, do you think there's other things that we may want to put in that? I mean, sometimes it's best to kind of carry a bill along in case something pops up that we could work out to put in a committee or conference. You know, rather than push it along through and get it done real quick, we got a couple more weeks. There might be something pop up that we want to stick in a bill here or there. So, I mean, it's just, you know, thinking about the process.
Well, go ahead, Brian.
thank you. I just looked up, Bobby, on S79, the rental housing. I'm doing my due diligence here. The House General has it on their agenda for today as a markup and possible vote. So that still is in play, I guess.
Yeah.
They've had it since, I think it went over there on April 1st, but
Well, it would make sense to me to look at S102, see how we feel about that. And then, you know, if we like what they've done, then we know we could quickly concur. And, you know, that would make sense to me, because I don't want to deal with S102 another year for sure. And those poor chicken farmers, you know, so I'd be a little cautious to get too cute with it. Although I do like where you're coming from, Mr. Chair.
Well, why don't that's already come back to us.
It's going to wait one legislative day, the way that unless you advance the calendar, you'll probably either get it today or tomorrow.
So why don't we set a meeting up for Thursday, and if we need to meet, we will have that time set aside. If we don't need to meet, we'll have Linda send a note to cancel the meeting. Would that work, guys?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, then, so you can plan your time a little better and, you know, if you have other things you have to do, well, you can get it done like tomorrow morning. And, so,
And we'll plan for Thursday.
why don't we shoot for Thursday and then if we need to meet, we will, but if we don't, if that bill comes and we can talk about that, at least we could, run through that and get that out of the way, you know, maybe for an hour or something.
I can tell you, I'm sure you have to meet in your in a probes. We're meeting typically at 10. Oh no, the floor's at 10, right?
Yep.
Yeah, today, but normally we're gonna be meeting from 10 or 10:30 on, you know, in the committee, I think.
Well, the floor schedule is 10 o'clock every day this week.
Yeah,
So if we need to, we could potentially meet
9.
8:30 to 10 or something.
yeah, yeah.
All right.
Okay, well, very good. We had for those that weren't on earlier, we had our first task force meeting yesterday. And Michael and Linda are both working with us on that. And I don't know, what do you think, Michael, about how the meeting went?
I think, well, first of all, I think you've got a good committee. I think you've got people that know what they're talking about and are invested. And it was good to see that. So I think you have a good membership on the committee. I think that the charge is pretty significant. And some of just the discrete issues are significant, you know, how to get small to medium farms to start doing hedging to protect themselves against price fluctuations in the market. You know, that's a very viable thing to do, but how do you get that done?
Well,
Right?
and figuring out how we can commingle, say, 10 farms to hedge, you know, 2 million pounds of milk or 3 million pounds of milk. Yeah, I think that could make them a buck or two a hundredweight.
Right.
And there's some, no, I think we had you know, everybody was very involved yesterday. Everybody was talking and asking good questions. And so I think it went good for the first meeting.
Right. My concern is finding some consensus about the focus going forward, because, for instance, you have the hedging as one proposal. The DFR report discussed the Maine and the Pennsylvania state-specific milk market orders. They talked about how Maine was kind of geographically unique and how Pennsylvania has done it and it's been successful and it's withstand legal challenge, but the milk in Pennsylvania is substantially more expensive at the retail level than surrounding states. So there's pros and cons with each of those proposals, and how to go forward, I think, needs a little bit of focus from the committee. And maybe you're not there yet. Maybe you need to take testimony from people, which is fair. But I that's one of those things. It's potentially a big lift, and I'm up for it. But I'm also a little intimidated by it.
Oh yeah, yeah, the shit's gonna hit the gutter. But anyways, no, we're gonna have a lot of heavy lifting toward the end of that thing. That's for sure. It'll be the last couple of 3 meetings. That'll be the hard lifting. So anyways, you can't always express your opinions on, on live TV. So if I offended any of you guys, let me know.
I think you were frozen at the same time, sir. I'm not positive.
So anyways, we'll call it a day and get ready to go on the floor here in a few minutes. And so we'll see you all then.